All right, this is One Last Midnight. Welcome back to another episode of Astroneer. So jetpacks came out in the exploration update and was highly used in the Wanderer update. But I have never covered the jetpacks. So let's take a deep dive in the jetpacks. I hope you enjoy the video. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the jetpack and the jump jet. So we have a solid fuel jump jet, which is 5,000 bytes to make, and it takes an aluminum alloy. Aluminum alloy is okay. It's not too hard to get because you have the copper and the aluminum, and then you're going to need the chemistry lab. So you're going to need to at least have gone to DeSolo or Calidor to get your tungsten to make the chemistry lab. And then there's the Hydrazine Jetpack, which is 15,000 bytes to unlock, and it requires titanium alloy. Also, you're going to need hydrazine in abundance if you're flying around with this thing. Yeah, it's going to cost you a total of 20,000 bytes to unlock both of these guys, but they're a lot of fun when you do unlock them. And of course, if you're doing the Wanderer update, then using the jetpacks is pretty necessary. Before we can start making any kind of comparison, we're going to need to have some sort of measuring unit. Now, there's no real defined way to measure inside of Astroneer. The only way we have to measure is with tethers. So let's call this a tether unit. And a tether unit is the length between two tethers. We'll call this one tether unit. If you were to stretch it out in a straight line until the tether disconnected and then went back and got as far as you possibly could, that would be one tether unit. And if you can consistently do that over and over and over again, you would get a form of measurement. So these are two tether units, and I'm calling them tether units. Let's expand out our concept of unit of measure inside of Astroneer. So each tether bundle has 11 tethers in it, which would make 11 tether units, or one tether bundle unit. Now, I have best as my ability stretch these tethers out in a straight line, straight-ish line, the farthest distance as I possibly could from each tether. Some variation inside of this whole length of line that would probably be a plus or minus 2 or 3 tethers. I don't think I'm that far off, but maybe. So each tether bundle unit is denoted by a red beacon, and I placed 10 of these beacons down. So this long line of tethers goes on and on and on for a pretty far distance. And as you can see from space, looking at these red beacons, which represent the 10 tether bundle units, where this red beacon is the starting point, this fuchsia beacon is the midpoint, and finally, this red beacon is the end point. You can see that it spans half of the planet. Height can also be measured the same way, just by placing tether units vertically. So we have a way to be able to measure height. All right, now that that's taken care of and we have kind of an understanding of how I'm measuring out distances with the jetpacks, let's get into the jetpacks. Once your aluminum alloy is complete, you're ready to make the solid fuel jump jet. When you have the solid fuel jump jet built, you'll get a device that attaches, if you have space available, onto your auxiliary slots. If your auxiliary slots are full and you create the jump jet, it will just snap into your backpack. The solid fuel jump jet fuel indicator are these 3 purple bars. Well, they actually kind of look pinkish, but they're these 3 bars right here. And when you've expended all of your fuel in your solid fuel jump jet, the jump jet will actually get destroyed. The solid fuel jump jet has limited thrust capability and will only keep you in flight for a couple seconds. You can see on the indicator while I was flying that there is a central ring that fills up. So when you're in flight, it'll go to the max, letting you know that it is out of power. Try to pay attention to it as I go up. Now, a single solid fuel jump jet will take you to a height in the air that is not quite high enough to kill you. You will sustain some damage if you're on a level surface and you're falling from the height of the solid fuel jump jet. Using 2 jump jets will still take you to that set height, which is not quite high enough to kill you. You will sustain some damage, as you can see from my screen. Now I'm activating the jump jets by using the space key on the keyboard, but you can use the alternate keys defined on your keyboard to activate either one of the alternate slots. Now you could daisy chain the solid fuel jump jet to produce double the amount of height by using one thruster to its max and then starting with the other thruster. However, this will cause you to die. If you are planning on double boosting, remember to make sure that you keep just a little bit of fuel left for that landing. Now, if you notice that the solid fuel jump jet indicator will reset the moment you touch the ground. So if I use it a little bit, you could see that it resets the moment I hit the ground. When it's in the air and the indicator is full, no matter how many times I push the button, I'll just get this little puff, puff, puff sound, letting me know that I can no longer use it anymore. So the solid fuel jump jet gives you limited thrust capability and limited duration. Let's look at the height of the jump jet. How high can this jump jet actually take me? Using our Tether Unit measuring system, 1 will take you almost a full Tether Unit, but 2, because you're getting that additional thrust from using both, will soar you above, slightly above the Tether Unit. And if you wind up daisy chaining them, you can get to about 1.5 Tether Units. Okay, let's create a brand new solid fuel jump jet and test distance. So this jump jet should attach to my alternate slot, and it did. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to fly as far as I can. Now remember, I'm only going to fly 1 unit at a time, so I'm going to have to land and take off again. But we're going to do this in quick succession, and you can do this pretty easily. Maybe this is why they call this a jump jet. As the jump jet starts losing fuel, you can hear the sound of it change. Okay, so we've reached the end of the distance that we can get on a single solid fuel jump jet. Again, solid fuel jump jet wasn't made for consistent flight. It was made for a sort of an assisted jump. So you have to use it in the way that I did use it, which was run, jump, thrust, run, jump, thrust. I'm going to set this hopper down as an indicator of where I landed. I will pick up beacons and reset this. I'm going to go back. We're going to test the double solid fuel jump jet. Okay, for this test, I'm going to create 2 brand new solid fuel jump jets. And we're going to run this test again. Same one that I did for the single solid fuel jump jet. Here we go. You can already tell that my velocity is much faster. And I'm almost completely out of fuel. And I've actually exceeded my 10 Tether Bundle Unit measuring spot. We're going to put down 2 beacons here. We'll put these down as green. And I will keep this slightly off to the side so we can see these from space. Let's also replace our first landing indicator with a green beacon. And from space, looking at the indicators, this is the first one. You could see where the single solid fuel jump jet took me well over half the distance. This is the middle distance. And the double solid fuel jump jet took me beyond the 10 unit mark. So we're looking at, if you use 2 solid fuel jump jets in the manner in which I did, you can travel pretty quickly half of the planet. However, if I would have instead used the 2 solid fuel jump jets independently, I would have traveled a significant distance farther. You can see here's my midway point. I have traveled beyond my midway point. I'm actually roughly about 7 tether bundle units. So if I would have used that other single solid jump jet instead of both simultaneously, I probably would have wound up somewhere over here. It really depends on how you want to use the solid fuel jump jets. Now let's take a look at the Hydrazine Jetpack. So the Hydrazine Jetpack is going to take a titanium alloy to build. And when it's done, you can create the Hydrazine Jetpack. The Hydrazine Jetpack differs in look from the solid fuel jump jet. As you can tell, there's an indicator saying that I have no fuel, and this is the location in which the hydrazine would go. You'll notice there is no second indicator on here determining the duration in which I can burn my Hydrazine Jetpack. However, you will need plenty of hydrazine to run your Hydrazine Jetpack. Once you have a hydrazine in your backpack and you have the jump jet, your first use will cause the jump jet to pull the hydrazine from your backpack. You can see that the indicator is no longer blinking. It's aware that I have a hydrazine inside of my backpack. The moment I use it, you'll see that it gets attached. And now I can start using my Hydrazine Jetpack. Since you're not limited by burn duration with the Hydrazine Jetpack, your vertical distance is only curtailed by the amount of hydrazine that you have. Now, you can easily see that hydrazine is burning as I'm going up, but I will continue to ascend until I have no more hydrazine. There is a ceiling limit in which you can go, and I have reached it. Essentially, it's the top of the clouds. Standing here will only burn hydrazine, but you cannot get into space with a Hydrazine Jetpack. A nice little addition that they added in the exploration update was, as you're falling, they've added in a wind rushing sound. While it was challenging to get out of this ravine with the solid fuel jump jet, it's not very hard with the Hydrazine Jetpack. I forgot to include, while talking about the solid fuel jump jet, activation can be used in a couple different ways. Your mobility really depends on how you're using the jump jet. To activate the jump jet, you're using either the alternate keys, or in the case of the keyboard, the space bar, which will turn the jump jet or jetpack on. At that point, you could use your forward key to get forward momentum, your reverse key to get a reverse direction, and also your side keys to move left or right with your jetpack on. With the Hydrazine Jetpack, as your fuel starts running out, you'll start to hear an indicator sound that lets you know that your fuel is burning low. You can see that I reduced the amount of hydrazine I have. This is a good time to start getting low to the ground. The light will start blinking, and then when you're out, that is it. Your jetpack does not get destroyed. It'll stay on your backpack, waiting for more hydrazine. If at this point you had an extra hydrazine in your backpack, remember that the jetpack knows that you have hydrazine in your backpack. You would not get the indicator sound until you're on your very last hydrazine. It would just continue to keep pulling hydrazine from your backpack to fill your jetpack. Okay, I have a fresh canister of hydrazine, and I'm going to run the same distance test as I did with the solid fuel jump jet. Now, even though I'm going forward, the jetpack is going to take me up in elevation. But I'm not going to let off on the jetpack. I want you to see that continual thrust and how far continual thrust will take you. Now, I did have to start this test over again because I found out that a single canister of hydrazine actually lasts longer than an O2 tank and my backpack oxygen. But I did the same conditions. One single canister of hydrazine, and I am not letting off the thrust and forward momentum. I've already passed the halfway point, and I'm getting very close to where the single solid fuel thruster test stopped. Now my hydrazine is getting a little bit low, but it looks like we're going to get pretty much the same distance right as the single solid fuel jump jet. So a hydrazine jetpack and a single solid fuel jump jet are roughly about the same distance. I'm going to turn this beacon on, and I'm going to turn this into yellow. I'm now equipped with 2 hydrazine jetpacks with 2 fresh canisters of hydrazine. We're going to perform the same test, which is forward momentum while not letting off the thruster. Let's see how far we get. You can see we are going significantly faster, just like using 2 solid fuel jump jets. Because I haven't let off the thrust, we're still gaining altitude. We're coming up on the double solid fuel jump jet tests. But our fuel is getting pretty low. You can see that our hydrazine is about running out. And we're getting close to the limit. All right, we're about almost out of fuel. I don't want to die. So let me drop. And let's just call it roughly about even. Maybe I got a little more distance. I did get some distance with falling, but you know, technically this was about the same. Let's go ahead and set these beacons. And looking at the final test from space, my 10 tether bundle units, you could see that the solid fuel jump jet and the hydrazine jetpack took you essentially at the same distance. And the double solid fuel jump jet and hydrazine jetpack were roughly the same. We did essentially get to this green marker and then fall to where the yellow marker distance was. So here's my conclusion about the jump jet and the jetpack. The solid fuel jump jet seems to be a great early game device. It's not that expensive to make. You can actually make it while you're on Silva, and the bites are fairly reasonable. It will help you get from point A to point B relatively quickly, but with a limited amount of thrust. But you have to remember it is disposable, and once you use it, it's completely gone. Now, the Hydrazine Jetpack, once you can get to Glacio and gather the resources for it, obviously seems to be the better way, but it does consume up hydrazine at a fairly alarming rate. So you're going to have to constantly stay on top of fuel production if you're going to be using the jetpacks on a regular basis. One of the biggest benefits of the Hydrazine Jetpack itself is just the sustained flight ability. And it's great for recon. So you want to go out and look for resources, or you're lost and you want to find your beacon off into the distance, you can get that altitude and you can start exploring and seeing what's available to you. Now you can use these two in conjunction. Of course, the solid fuel will run out. You'll be limited by that limited amount of boost, and you'll hear one of them spurt, and while your jetpack is able to continue to keep going as long as you have hydrazine. But again, this is a great tool for recon, finding the resources that you need, maybe putting down a beacon so you can go back and pick them up later. The thing to remember here is 2 is not necessarily better than 1. Yes, you will get to your end destination quicker, but you get greater fuel efficiency with using just 1 jump jet or 1 jetpack to go the distance that you need to go. Keep that in mind while you're using these cool devices. All right, so that was my video on jetpacks. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. We have a great community here. And if you want to follow me on any of my social media, the links are in the description below. Oh, make sure you hit that notification bell so that you know when I go live and when I post new videos. We'll talk to you later. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.